Hello, beta testers. If you guys are watching this, that means you've agreed to beta test and that you are new to putting in results into the game log. So, what I have open in front of me is actually the season 3, sessions 7 through 10. Obviously, we're getting ready to start session 10. So that's where we'll be working. The reason I'm on the README section, it has a lot of good information, right? Like some of the descriptions, like the start date and time, total days, is final. It's telling you to check this box if the game has ended. And then if you scroll down, it's going to give you a description of what all of our abbreviations mean, right? Like 1B single, obviously. 1B WH, that's a well hit single. Remember, that's when less than 2 outs in a certain range, well hit single, so that would mean runner on first or second would get an extra base. Same thing with double well hit. Pretty much everybody scores in that scenario. B1 BB is the Butcher Boy play. That's if somebody sack bunts, which is really rare, and within like 3 or 5, something like that. All the runners get an extra base as well. So here's just a description of all those things, right? Run scored, what should you do in that situation? A ghost run scored, what should you do there? RBIs, etc., etc. Lots and lots of information. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to set up a couple of the threads or the logs, and I'm going to use a game thread and pretend like that's what we're looking at, right? So if you scroll all the way over, you'll see all the games listed, right? That's their abbreviation, GRZ BFB 10. So we'll click on that. And we'll see it takes us to that game log, right? And it's completely empty. So one thing you'll notice is, generally speaking, today, the day before the session, I will actually go through and I'll put all the start times so nobody has to do that. I will input the umpires. Nobody has to do that. You essentially just come in and start logging the game. Now, if that's not filled out, well, obviously game times always start at noon Eastern, day of, right? So that would be tomorrow. That would be 11/19/2019, 12/0/00, right? We use Eastern time, so you need to take that into effect if you're going to fill in a start time or end time date. So I'll go ahead and fill that in. Now you'll see the total days obviously is just populated. It's at negative 0.75 because the game hasn't started, right? Perfect. So the umpires actually were just picked. I have a bunch of stuff open, so I'll go ahead and check that. And in this case, that's going to be Rooster McCool, right? So if Rooster, I hope you guys will be watching this video. If this had not have been filled out, you would just go to the umpire section, right? And type in Rooster McCool. Now, what that does is in the master log, right, on the games log tab, if you'll look, there is now Rooster McCool is listed as the umpire, where every other game does not have an umpire. Hasn't been set up yet. Pretty straightforward, right? It just auto-populates. And you'll look in the game log above, right, in session 9, we have all these games have gone final, with the exception of ACP and BFB. Their game's still going because they're slow and dumb. But we love them anyways. But anyways, again, auto updates, right? As we put in plays, this gets auto updated, and essentially, these game logs, it's what drives the league, right? It's what we pull stats from. It's what we pull when we had buffs. It's what we pulled, a lot of different sheets pull from this sheet or that master game log. So that's why this is important and why it's important to be accurate. So we've essentially set this game up, right? Like we're ready to start. So what I'm going to do is let's pretend that this, why is that doing that? that the ACP BFP game was actually the game, right? So pretty simple, right? You would just find your game thread, open it up, and this is kind of what I do on a daily basis, right? Like I'll just open up every game thread and I'll look for the plays that haven't been processed, right? Like if I were still updating ACP BFB, which I am, right? I would just click on that game and see their game log has left off with True Pierce and Kegs Mabry. If Kegs has swung and it's past that, I would just fill in results and get to the current spot, right? So where this becomes important with the new calculator is going to populate everything for you based off of what is in the game log. So what that means, I'm kind of jumping a little bit, but what that means is for you to be able to use the new calculator to ping Kegs Mabry, right? Like if Red Trapper had just swung, we just did the result, and we need to let Kegs know it's his turn to hit. We need to set up his at-bat in the game log, right? So we need to put it's bottom of the sixth. There's a runner on first base, right? That's 0 outs. BRC is base runner count. So there's runner on first. What type of play is it? A swing? And I'm going to go over all this again. I just wanted to make it really important that you guys know in order for the calculator to work as intended, you need to set up the next at bat. So True Pierce, Kegs Mabry, and that would then populate on the calculator and we could ping away, do all that we need to do. All right, so getting back to how you enter plays and all these drop down menus and everything, right? So it's the top of the first is going to be your first play, right? So inning is pretty obvious, right? T1, B1, all the way through whenever the game's done, right? Top and bottom, simple. Outs, obviously simple. How many outs are there currently? BRC, what's the base running count? Or base running code, I guess. And if you scroll over to the right, like I just did, see I'm on the bottom scrolling. If you scroll over to the right, there is a little guide. This will become second nature to you, but until it does, here's your guide. 0 is base is empty, 1 is runner on first, 2 runner on second, so on and so forth. You see the guide, it's there, pretty straightforward. So we got top of 1, 0 outs, base runner code. Then the play type. Now you'll notice a lot of these are drop down menus, right? Drop down, drop down, drop down, drop down. You can either have them drop down and select, right? Swing, steal. H&R is hit and run, bunt. You can select the appropriate play. Same with pitcher. You can drop it down, or you can type it in, right? Like if I know the pitcher is Tony Smerek, right? For my team. I type in Tony, and instead of having to scroll through the entire list, oh look, I have choices, right? And then I select the appropriate thing, right? So okay, Tony Smerek, hitter, same thing. Let's say the hitter is Q Kimbrel, right? Okay, so I can just type in Q, and I've got two choices, hit Q Kimbrel. So then the pitch and swing number you would enter manually, right? So 420, 69, ha 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 ha, right? But that's what it is. So in this situation, because nobody's on, right, and the only thing that matters is the at-bat, the calculator is going to tell me what the result is. So I go over to the result column, and I would enter the result. I'm guessing 350 is probably a ground out. With nobody on, it might be a K, but it's more than likely a ground out. Same thing. I can type it in and get a result, get a simplified list of results and select the right one, or I can use the drop-down menu, okay? So I do that. Now, obviously, I'm going to delete all this stuff because technically speaking, this is going in and this is putting in stats for Tony and Q. Is like, oh, Q Kimbrel just got out with a 351 difference. Obviously, we'll erase all this stuff. You would go to the next hitter, right? Okay, so now it's top of the first, 1 out, nobody on. We're swinging again. We've got Tony Smerek still pitching. Bob, we had a baby. It's a boy is up. So let's go 420. Oh, but Bob has caught on and thought he might meme again. So he gets 333, 87. Yeah, I think a couple people might be able to make that a double, but let's just call it a single, right? Now you'll notice in here, right? Oh, look. And this is also handy when you're updating your box scores. If you happen to do it manually for whatever reason, you can check here and it'll tell you how many runs and hits have occurred throughout the game. But, so we're moving on to the next batter. It's top of the first, 1 on, 1 out. Let's say it's a swing again. I'm going to get somebody on the Pioneers wrong, obviously, I think. Let's say it's Bill Topher or Gabe Stouffer. Tony is just feeling it, right? Goes 420 again. Ha ha ha. So funny. But Bill didn't pay attention to scouting, and Rubba and Mac are mad at him because he didn't pay attention. They're like, stay low. I think Tony's just memeing right now, right? He didn't, but whatever. Bill said 890. Or let's say 820, right? Because 890 would probably be a double play. And let's pretend that that's a K, okay? So we've struck him out. It's now top of the first, 2 outs with a runner on. Now, this is really important. With this new calculator, you still want to set up the next at bat, right? So you're going to say swing, Tony. Let's go ahead and look and find a Pioneer just for continuity's sake. Kalen Young is going to be up, okay? Kalen Young. Oh, but guess what? This is what the actual at-bat is, so this is what's in your calculator, this whole situation, right? Tony Smerrick's pitching, 2 outs, runner on. Kalen Young is hitting. Bob is on second base. Well, Bob has informed you he wants to steal, okay? So it's pretty simple. Change your play type to steal. Get rid of the hitter because it doesn't matter. Go to your catcher. We got Fox Dashington. Put in your runner. In this case, it's Bob. All right, Fox Dashington has submitted a steal. His throw was 777. And Bob's steal was 666. Now, obviously, within 100, or basically about 100 off, that's going to be a successful steal. So I'm just going to type in stolen base. And the reason I'm pointing this out is it's important. With a successful steal, you want to go to this stolen base column right here and make sure you put a tally mark. So a 1, just the number 1. If you don't do that in the stats portion of the game, the runner actually won't get credited with a steal. So whenever you have a successful steal, make sure you put a stolen base right there. If he got caught stealing, that's CS, caught stealing, and then we don't have to worry about that. No, everything else gets taken care of. But he had a successful steal, okay? So we go. It's now going to be top of the first, 2 outs, runner on second. Back to Tony and Kalen Young, okay? For whatever reason, Tony's pitching a 420 again. And Kalen Young and the Pioneers are like, let's just do it. Let's see if he's on it. Let's take the risk. He 0-diff home runs him, right? So it's a home run. Now, here's important, right? The run scored is going to go into the column when the base hit happened. The exception to this rule is if they had a pinch ran for Bob and then we put a different runner here, we would put the run scored with him. But since it didn't happen, Bob got on base and Bob scored. So we need to find out where Bob got on base in this situation. It's right here. He scores a run. Kalen scores a run. And Kalen gets 2 RBIs. So that's essentially how all that goes, right? I'm not going to go too much further into how to feel that out because I think you guys get the picture, right? It's pretty self-explanatory. We put in the play type, we put in the appropriate people involved in the play, so pitcher, hitter, catcher, runner, whatever. We fill in the numbers where we need to fill in the numbers, right? And then we put tally marks in the appropriate spots. Okay. Obviously, in extra innings, if Kalen Young had been the first hitter of the inning and they hit the home run, it would still be RBIs. It would be a run scored. But here's where, whenever you have a ghost runner on and they score off of the hit, you would put the tally mark in that spot. Why isn't it updating? It should update. I don't know. I'll figure that out in a second. Why didn't that update? If O1 is blank. Well, I guess you need to put, yeah, no, that's not right. I'll look in a different thread in a second. And I'll explain that to you in a second because I know I have another thread with the Ghost Runner scoring and it counted. So maybe it has something to do with the inning needing to be T7 plus or something. I don't know. It's Spags. I would assume that's the scenario. It's not vitally important right now. What is important is you guys know, the swing types, your runner code, and all that stuff. And but yeah, that's just essentially how you go through it, right? You just update your threads. So again, if we were updating the Acadia thread, we could just go and we could put, hey, KC. And this is why all this stuff as an umpire becomes important, right? Because I need to, when you're putting stuff in a game log that you're not umping, you need to be able to quickly find what the swing was, what the pitch was, and what the result was, right? So that's why all that stuff's important. We can go to some end of game type of stuff. So here's Malibu Cincinnati, right? When they had the. Yeah, see, we have Ghost Runners scoring in that game, and for some reason that tallied properly. I'm guessing it has to do with top of 7, bottom 7, top 8, something like that. I can confirm that later. We'll get that to later. But so when a game ends, you see we've put the date in with the time. The total days kind of auto-populates itself. And what that is, that's essentially, that's just that's just right. It's just this column and this column, right? Like how long did that last? Your total plays will update each time you put something in this column, right? So anytime you go and you've put in a result and you go, okay, now it's it's top of the 8th. Runners, nobody out, runner on second. And then your plays per day is just going to take your total time and total plays and divide and get all that junk. But so the game has ended. They put in the end time and date. They've checked that it's final. This winning pitcher, losing pitcher, save, and player of the game, that's all manual enter. You guys would be doing that for your own games at the end of the game. So, and again, doing all this stuff, filling out this winning pitcher, losing pitcher, all this, when you do this, all of this stuff is going to revert back to the calculator itself. Let me see if I've got that somewhere. I'm pretty sure I have that. I can pull it up really quick. Yeah, so if you'll notice, this is from the last game Bob and I did. It's if you look at the Reddit ping over here, it has bottom of the 6th, 0 outs, bases empty, Bobby Portis on the mound, Tyler Palmatier is up. This is the stuff that auto updates as you put in the game log, right? It's going to update. It's the top of the 1st, 1 out, bases, runner on 1st and 2nd, or whatever your game situation is. This is the section that we need you guys to this is why we need you to update the game log, right? When you do that stuff, it's going to update here, okay? Same thing right here. This is a second. This is if you're using New Reddit, right? This bottom one is if you're using New Reddit. It does a little bit of a different design. Your results blurb, I'm going to show you, right? I'll show you how that auto updates, right? So let's say the pitch in this scenario was 1, 2, 3. Why can't I update it? Did he lock it? Or is it being slow? He locked that one. Which is the one? What's the one I was using? Let's see. I'll find it. 1 second. Sorry, guys. Where are you? Nope, that's not it. Where are you? Okay. Good. This is an older version. It looks like he kind of locked that one too. Dang. Okay, well, I can't really show you. I can do that at a later date. But essentially, as you put in the pitch and swing, this results blurb box would populate and give you the pertinent information, right? So yeah, that's kind of your quick and dirty instructions. If you guys have questions, please feel free to ask. I can give you a little thing to walk through, but I thought this might be a simple way for everybody to look at it at once without trying to explain it 15 different times. But yeah, please feel free to ask questions. I'm sure I probably missed something. I was hoping I could maybe get you guys all to just listen in while I went over it, but I figured that'd be pretty hard to try to get all you guys in at once, so I decided to make this. I hope it's helpful, and thank you for testing it out.